I am Deez here with Mode. I am filling in with James tonight. We will be talking about Mode and Def AI or Deef AI, however you want to pronounce it these days, and where Mode is sitting there, how we're bringing agents on chain. And since I'm a late fill-in, I'm going to use the first part of the presentation, kind of peel back the curtain on how we as a chain approach new teams and agents and bring them on board. So if you guys have ideas in the crowd, I remember when I was here looking at different presentations and wanting agents to come to life, hopefully you walk away with some tool sets and how to approach us or DM us, reach out, and we can expedite that process instead of keeping these chain development processes in kind of black boxes. So, and then at the very end, we'll do a quick little overview of the Modius agent and how it deploys funds across Balancer and Sturdy. So next slide. Back one. A little bit about Mode. We are a L2 on the Optimism superchain. So that's a collective of chains that is under the Optimism collective that has agreed to use a certain standard of code and development to prepare for interchain operability. I don't know if you guys have been following that. That should come up later this summer, and that will allow assets to kind of flow across the superchains, which is really exciting because when we see asset allocation flowing across different protocols, I'm sure when you go to the top right of your browser, when you're interacting with these, you can see different chains. At some point, that chain abstraction will become real life, and we'll share these assets across chains under Super ERC20 standard, I believe. And why I bring that up is that all the chains on the super chain, ideally, we're communicating and developing different agents and different verticals, because if we do that in parallel instead of developing the same agents, we'll have a better result at the end. And hopefully expedite the process. So yeah, Mode is a general L2. We have a plethora of different apps across different verticals. We started as a DeFi specialist chain about a year ago. It's been live on mainnet. TGE was last May. And about, 4 or 5 months ago, we leaned really heavy into AI. I actually called it AI-Fi before Daniel Sesta came around and really pushed the Def AI narrative with the Anon. So the thesis for Mode by 2026, almost all or over 80% of all on-chain tracks will be executed by agents. I'm sure when we first came out with this a few months ago, it was kind of startling, but now that we have moved forward, I think it's very, very realistic this will happen. So as Mode approaches this kind of uniquely amongst the super chains, it's very hands-on. So if you go to mode.network, there's a lot of product work. So I'm very impressed with the product team. And when I started with Mode, I was also kind of jarred in a good way of how hands-on the team is with our ecosystem. A lot of chains are very hands-off. They give the toolkits, the ecosystem tools, and then they say, hey, let's help connect teams. But we've actually put a lot of work into creating that front door to these agents. So this is our terminal, which can connect to pretty much any agent or any DeFi protocol in the ecosystem. And so the development process on this is we use ELIZA GOAT framework, and we need two things. So if you have ideas for agents, if you're thinking about how does all this thing progress, we need atomic actions, which is what can it do? Is it deposit, withdraw, trade, rebalance, look at certain rates? And then we need the data. Like, what data does it want to look at? Is that trading data like RSIs or MACDs? Is that funding rates? Is that TVL? Is that liquidity? Things like that. So with those two pieces of information, that'd be very helpful if you reached out and said, hey, I want to design a DeFi agent. Just think atomic actions and then the language, because a human has to come in here and interact with this, and it needs to know where to deploy the assets, whether it needs to go cross-chain, whether it needs to go across different protocols, and what signals it needs to accomplish that. Next slide. We have an AI agent app store, so some agents that we have deployed, Giza and OAuth's Modius agents, they're not operational through our terminal yet, but they are operational on Mode and have demonstrated early capabilities. As Steve said, we're still early in the innings, but proving some of these outs gives us the early framework to learn from and establish more routes to develop the agents. So yes, Modius is one of our agents leading the way. we have developed it or worked with the OWASP team to hook it into balancer pools and Sturdy, so it'll move assets around and look at CoinGecko, kind of see where it can optimize its rates. It's continuously refined, so when more assets are deployed or available, it can kind of move those assets around and take advantage. It's DeFi native before, so it's not using off-chain intents. It's not tapping into any centralized liquidity yet. It's looking at on-chain sources of yield. Of course, it's deployed on Mode. And then if you, for OWASP holders out there, you can use that. And if you're in the agent participating, you get that staking yield for staking the OWASP, and then USDC and ETH are obviously used to execute the strategies. This matters. Obviously, we've covered why the benefits of using agents is awesome. It works 24 hours around the clock. It's hands-free. You don't need to worry about clicking any buttons once the strategy is set. And then with some of these developing programs, as the tokenomics are incentivizing user growth and use, you get that additional benefit of earning staking rewards when you're using the agent. And so we'll pause here. This is actually the last slide. For developers, that leads to the GitHub. You can go in and experiment how to refine strategies. And then we have a wonderful community member here, Victor, who has a user tutorial. Oh, you're in the audience. Outstanding, sir. So I was DMing a bunch of my team looking for screenshots of the Modius asset. I'm like, you know what? I actually just ripped Victor's beautiful tutorial here. So if you find Victor, he's in the third row right there. He's got a lime on his glass. He can walk you through how to get started. Thanks so much for coming. This is one wonderful surprise. How are we doing on time? Do I have 2 minutes to kill? 3 minutes to kill? Do I have any time to kill? Where am I over? Oh, okay. Oh, I was going to say, yeah, if anyone has any questions about how these agents work, I can probably take one or two. If not, we can set it off. Thank you. Victor. Shout out to Victor.